Hey everybody, Mr. Chris at the Hudson Area Public Library. We're getting down to the tail end. We've got just two more kit bags that were from our virtual camps we did this summer, and I had some leftover materials. So we're turning in those to kind of a supersized take and make kit for you in this video. Is just to describe how you can do some of the experiments that are included in the bag, because it wasn't really included with specific directions for that because we were doing that during camp. So let me get into, if I can share my screen, I can show you some of the slides that I shared with the campers this summer. And I'll just talk about it quick. So I get it larger so it's in present mode. So if you can see all that, exploding seed balls. So these are versions of them pictured here on the right, all stacked up is what you'll be making. All the elements you need are in the kit bag. And the reason we're making them are for these wonderful people over here. Insects, butterflies, and bees, pollinators really like these. So if you plant these near your house or garden, or if you have a cabin, anywhere that you can plant them, they explode when you throw them. You go to plant them and they have everything they need to grow here. So really quickly, one of the reasons behind this activity is we in the United States, and a lot of places around the world, use a lot of pesticides to protect crops from invasive species, from weeds, from things that might damage that crop. So this is an example of someone working at a farm and spraying pesticide on that crop to keep that from happening. So that works really efficiently for food production on an industrial scale, for things you might get at the grocery store, like tomatoes, cucumbers, corn, things like that. But one of the downsides to that is we don't have as many diverse areas in our communities, in our neighborhoods, where there's a lot of different things growing, and that helps attract pollinators, and instead of just doing a single crop or a single thing in an area. So this is an example of, again, using a lot of pesticides or products that you may see in a local community. This is just an open public space, but you're seeing, no wildflowers, no growth, anything happening in the area because the lawn is treated, and there's not really a diversity of anything growing, in this area. And the chemicals actually have a detrimental effect on those pollinators. It keeps them away, and there's some evidence that it damages them long term with exposure to that. So you may have seen areas like this picture, which is a pollinator habitat, where there's an area of land set aside just for pollinators. And so there's no pesticides or chemicals on anything growing in there. And they try to do a really large diversity of different things growing. So just kind of like when you're excited, if you're helping out going to the grocery store, it's exciting when you see a real wide diversity of different beverages and fruits and vegetables and things that you can select from. Pollinators really like that when there's a diversity of different things growing, not just one type of flower in an area. So these are becoming more popular and are popping up in areas all around the country. So our food supply that we get, I've been talking about grocery stores a lot, 1 out of every 3 bites of food that you eat is pollinated by bees. So that kind of shows you how important bees are to our ecosystem and to the food that we get. So out of every 3 bites of food you take, no matter where you are or what you're doing, 1 out of every 3 of those bites is the direct involvement of a bee in that food that you're eating. So this is another example of a nearby pollinator garden. So kind of the sign to indicate what it is. And you see all these just different kinds of beautiful wildflowers that really attracts those butterflies and bees to those areas. It's good for them. So those are some of the slides that I had shared with the camp. And then everything you need here is in the bag for this activity. So you're gonna have some parchment paper, a little tin pan, a little mixing bowl, a bottle of water, and then you'll have the ingredients you're going to be mixing up in the bowl. So you'll have some soil, some planting soil. You'll have your wildflower seeds, which are loose in this bag. Some empty bags to, if you want to gift some of the seed balls you're making. I included some empty bags, so when they dry, you can put them in those bags you have some marshmallows for a snack after your hard day of working, making seed balls. And then you'll have measuring cups in there. What else? You've got your red clay, which is with the soil and the seeds, the main ingredients for making your seed balls. So you want to keep all these things separate. So you're going to mix them. And then you got a pair of safety goggles. You're mixing in case anything's flying up. And you've got a plastic serrated knife and a tongue depressor. That's either way is good for kind of breaking off that red clay in the chunks that you need for everything. So what you're going to be doing is on this direction sheet here. So I will not talk about that at length in the video because it's kind of self-explanatory on that, but you'll see the kind of process and how you're mixing things and adding the water and then letting them dry. The letting them dry works really well. We've got these nice hot summer days. So after you have formed your seed balls, if anybody help make meatballs for spaghetti, it's kind of like that a bit. And then you can just lay these out on the tray we have here. So there's the parchment paper you can cut, give you more than you need. So you can cut a section, lay it on the inside of the tray. And this would be really good for allowing them to kind of bake in the sun and dry. So they'll be a very dark color when you make them, kind of like mud. And then when they dry, they'll be a very light brown color. And you see that, you know that they're okay to pick up. You may want to roll them over once when you check them so they can dry really well underneath, depending on how soggy they were when you made them. Sometimes people pick them up and they look dry on top, but there's a little wet spot on the bottom still. And if you just roll them over, give them a little bit more time, that small area will dry nice and light brown like the rest of them. So yeah, everything you need is in that direction sheet on the orders and how to go. So after you laid out all your materials, if you want to grab that sheet, and then when they are fully dry, they're ready to go. So you can plant them again. If you're just using them for your garden or at the cabin or for family members, you can throw them and they'll explode, or you can just set them where you want them to be. And when the rain hits them, they'll explode open from the rain hitting. So that's the exploding part, the exploding seed ball. But then they have everything they need to get going. So there's the seeds and there's the soil and then there's the clay. And so that will kind of anchor the seeds as that rain comes, and then they'll develop roots where you put them and kind of grow up from there. So that's just the one thing we say to kind of make that work is make sure you talk to your parents or whatnot. You put them in an area that is either far enough away from a lawn where it's not going to get any chemicals on it, because that's the whole kind of point of this, is to be an area where it's they're blooming naturally and it will attract those pollinators. So if it's closer to the house, we have a separate spot where you have other flowers or things going, and you can put it there, that'll be great, because you just want to make sure that it's not going to be getting any of the chemicals that might be used for treating your lawn, for anti-weeds and things like that. So that's the exploding seed ball activity. I hope you enjoy it. We have a few of those out now, and I think I've got one more activity bag coming up before the end of the summer here from our camps. So I hope you're having a great summer and you enjoy that, and we'll see you again soon. Thanks. Bye.